Genuinely felt that my phone was the source of my anxiety. So I also shut down my phone for a year. Shut it down. My friends couldn't reach me. Hello, I am Adelina. I do videos mostly about motivation, productivity, and study methods. I'm a European law master student, or soon not. I graduate soon, but that's what I call myself in the meantime. And today we will talk about how social media correlates with productivity. And I will give my own history with social media and my own experience to it. As it comes to the science behind this, I have no background in either social sciences or psychology, so I don't want to interpret any studies for you guys. But I do recommend to do your own research, and you can often find scholarly studies on your universities databases. Otherwise, there are a lot of other scientific databases where you can find such studies. But what we basically know is that social media can negatively affect our attention span and productivity. We know that it can have a negative effect. And I will mostly talk about my experience and how I have overcome some of the negative effects that I feel like social media had on my own life. Okay, I will first begin by giving my own history with social media. I probably got Snapchat and Instagram when I was about in 7th grade, however old you are then. And back then, Snapchat and Instagram was a totally different thing. There was no TikTok fixation yet. I don't know if the TikTok was by then. I think it was called something else, but I didn't have that. And back then there was no ads on these social media apps, and everyone was posting pictures of their food with a rainbow filter. It was a totally different thing. And I just don't remember it having this big impact on my productivity or anything like that. I just remember it being a natural part of life, not a very big part of life. Yeah. And then, social media blew up, I would say, when I was in high school, probably. And I am a highly anxious person. It's just my nature. Naturally, social media did make me very anxious. I could feel the negative effects very much. I didn't like to be reachable at all times. I didn't like the fact that people can see your online status, and that if you are online, you are kind of expected to answer. I had a problem with all of these things, to not speak of, the way that everything just looked so, everyone's lives look so perfect on social media, and you always feel like you're falling behind. So the year after high school, I just completely boycotted social media. I deleted the apps off my phone and I didn't download them again for a year. But that's not all. I also shut down my phone for a year. And I know that sounds crazy, but that's what I did. And you can think what it took for me to get to that point. I think generally, I don't know a person who was completely grounded in high school. I don't know a person who was had a really good sense of their identity, was self-sure in high school. I don't know a person like that. So it wasn't probably completely all because of social media, but I felt like social media was a big part of just me having a bad time, having a lot of anxiety. And I genuinely felt that my phone was the source of my anxiety, so I just shut it down. And of course, this had a lot of consequences for me that year. My friends couldn't reach me. A lot of people took it personally. A lot of people were or not a lot of people, but my friends were, hurt, didn't understand. Some of my closest friends still tried to reach me through my parents and my siblings, so they could call me through my parents and siblings. And that's how they reached me, and that's how I saw them. It's pretty crazy to think back of, but that's how it was. And what else? I was never I was very late up to world news. I mean, most world news now reaches on social media first. It's not like we watch TV. I guess some people do. But yeah, so that a lot of those things I were missing out on. I was always late. I didn't know anything about celebrities. And sometimes when like my friends were talking, I couldn't relate, or I didn't know what they were talking about, to the point where they, just looked at me and were like, do you live under a stone? And it was kind of an isolating feeling, even though I didn't admit it at the time, because I felt like being away from social media just gave me this big spiritual growth, and my productivity did increase, my anxiety did lower, and my focus got way better. Back then, I felt the benefits were bigger, and I felt like other people should understand me. Looking back now, I think I could have grown spiritually. I think I could have improved my productivity and focus and worked on my anxiety without shutting down my phone for a year. It did have effects for me that, looking back on now, I don't think were worth it. Like the people who only could reach me through my parents and my siblings, and kind of I missed that part of like being a part of something, knowing what's going on. And I also just missed seeing what others were doing, and like the contacts you can make on social media. For example, the other day I kind of not reunited, but I talked to a friend, an old friend from undergrad, or we call it like a candidate here. And we did catch up on each other's lives, and he lives in Spain now. And it was just so fun just catching up. And all that happened because he saw a story of me in Italy and asked what I was doing there. And that wouldn't have happened without social media. And another thing is like Philip, my editor now, you can put your Instagram here, Philip. I also saw his work on like Instagram a month ago or two. And I saw that he had, got really passionate about filming and photo and all of that. And that's how I reached out to him and was like, hey, I need a video editor and I really appreciate your work. I would love to know if you're interested. And I feel like without social media, like these things wouldn't have happened. And they are pretty big benefits to me. And I also like knowing about world news, and also more like small things that I like to look up for, like fashion inspiration. And sometimes I just like to look at dance videos because I dance, so I think it's just a guilty pleasure, and I just think the benefits are too many to totally boycott it. But if you might be listening to me and be like, no, the benefits are way bigger of totally just boycotting social media completely, just cutting it out of your life. I think the answer to that has to start with you. Like, what effects does social media have on you? How does social media impact your productivity and your focus and your attention span and your life? And if you're a really anxious person like me, be honest with yourself. Does social media increase your anxiety? My presence on social media is still very, very moderated. I have these blocking apps that totally take over my phone, and there is not a single day that I don't block my social media in like time blocks. I might do half an hour or an hour, depending on if I'm working or if I just want some peace of mind for an hour or half an hour, or if I'm doing something else and I don't want to even get into social media. Now that you have heard kind of my history, my background, the benefits of leaving social media that I experience, the negative effects of leaving social media that I experience, I want to get into some tips for you guys. Some tips that I have for you guys on how to integrate social media productively into your life. And these are my best tips, and it took me years to find my way back. It's only actually a year ago that I started using social media a little bit more. Actually, like this fall, I didn't even know how to add people on Snapchat. I hadn't had that. I hadn't been in for so long, and they update the app. Like that's just a small thing that everyone just assumes and they look at you like you're crazy if you don't. So this is now coming from a person that has worked through this a few months and really tried to integrate social media back into my life without without it affecting my anxiety again, my productivity, my focus, and my attention span. And here they come. But before we get into the tips, I just want to say, I know there are people who kind of don't need these tips. I have people in my life who just can't understand why I get so anxious around social media, and like why it affects me so much, and why I just can't put my phone away and leave it there. I think that we are all different, and I know definitely that there are people who never block their social media, never need to kind of use these tips and tricks, and they just do fine day by day. But if you are like me, if you can notice that social media is having negative effects on your life, but you will still not like to completely leave it because you either value the connections you can make there, or the way that social media can contribute to your private life, because let's face it, it's a reality of today. A lot of our private life kind of is connected to social media. And you can value productivity very highly, but still value your private life. It doesn't mean you have to always sacrifice your private life for social media. And I have realized that too. And that's why I worked hard to reach this balance, because this has been something I have been struggling with, to know if social media, if I should look at it black and white like in the past, or if I should find a middle ground. And I feel like now I have. I've had to make these changes because you can't expect everyone to adjust to you. You just can't. That's a selfish way of thinking. The world doesn't evolve around us, unfortunately. Let's say I'm an anxious person, that is, as an adult, my responsibility to take care of. My friendship shouldn't suffer because of it. Of course, my friends are very, very understanding. Let's say we all are a little bit. If we don't answer for a day or so, it's nothing. But just that you want to be reachable to people, then this is for you. The first tip is to use blocking apps, as I call them. I would recommend Freedom. I know it's available on you can have it on all your devices and control it from your phone. So you can have it on your computer. If you have multiple computers, if you have multiple phones or devices, you can have this installed on all of them and pay one price to be able to control and block social media on them for periods of time, all controlled from your phone, and it's great. I have tried to not use blocking apps and just mindfully go on social media when I genuinely want to, and that has never worked for me. I just spiral each time. I may accidentally click on the app and accidentally go on a scroll, and suddenly half an hour is gone, and that just gives me intense anxiety, and I feel like I wasted a lot of time and I can't control what I see, so it might affect how I feel. And that is why I feel like blocking apps is such a great choice. So you actually can't go on social media when you're not supposed to. If you're supposed to focus for an hour, you turn it off for an hour, and these take complete control of your phone, so you can't uninstall it. At least I think Freedom does that. I know AppLock does that, yeah, at least, and that one I have on my Android, so I'm not sure that one is available for iOS. Don't know about iPhones. So you can probably find an app like that. And number 2 is be honest. I never realized this before, which is kind of funny. Communicate to people the way that you are. The very first time you exchange socials with another person, tell them the very first time that I'm so bad with my socials, I forget to check them all the time, so please don't take it personally if I take a long time, but I would love to talk there sometimes. And just, that is a way of, from the beginning, setting the expectations low. I don't know about you, but all these tips and tricks are kind of wired around my anxiety, those things that trigger my anxiety the most around social media. And one of them is that kind of, when you can't control it, suddenly you are in the app and you're just scrolling. That's why blocking the apps works for me. And this number 2 is because I was constantly worried that people think I'm playing games, or that I am, trying to politely ignore them. That is why I, from the beginning, tell people honestly, oh, I don't usually check them when I work, something like that. And like when the relationship evolves, you can tell them exactly why, like that it worsens your anxiety or whatever. But in the beginning, I feel like it can be just too much and there are too many questions. So I just like to say, oh, I'm so bad with my socials. It sounds kind of elusive, but it usually works best for me. And but I make sure to still communicate that I would love to connect with them, just that they shouldn't expect me to be like as available as the average person. And number 3. So number 3 is be intentional. And there's a lot of under categories to this one. So be intentional with social media can mean a few different things, but this is what it means for me. It doesn't happen that I go on social media for idle scrolling. It just doesn't work with me. I always have an intention to what I do when I go on social media. It's either to connect with people or do something like specific, like put up a photo, or if I want to look for style inspiration, or if I specifically want to look up a certain celebrity or whatever, like maybe dance videos. I also like to watch that. That's a guilty pleasure. So that is a way to be intentional. You focus on what you can control. And every time you go on social media, you have an intention behind it. Oh, I'm going to answer my friends. I'm going to write to this person. I'm going to look for some style inspiration or some home decor inspiration, or wherever you go, look at some news. Whatever you go on social media for, I think you get it. And the second under category in this one is to focus on what you can control. You can control who and what you follow. That you can control. So make sure you follow things that doesn't trigger you in a bad way. There are things that can make us provoke our thoughts, and that's not necessarily negative. But if it triggers you to see perfectly photoshopped girls, then don't follow perfectly photoshopped girls. If it triggers you to see people eating breakfasts at their yachts, don't follow people eating breakfasts at their yachts. Whatever triggers you and triggers your specific insecurities or anxieties, don't follow that. And also, algorithms, they prioritize for you. I know, for example, on Instagram, if you visit a certain person's profile a certain amount of times, it will prioritize their photos for you. So this is something else you can do, but you can yourself look up more of how you can like tailor your algorithm to you, because what you look up, that you will see. That is an under category. And the third under category for number 3 is to avoid the black and white thinking of social media. I myself think this is one of the biggest dangers with social media. It's like the herd thinking, the group think. Especially on TikTok, I feel like that is just an extreme example. If someone says something, everyone jumps on that bandwagon. And sometimes I watch these like 30-second, extremely simplified videos that explain a concept, to the risk of misunderstanding because it's just 30 seconds. And sometimes, there are a lot of, for example, dating advice. So when you go on social media, try to avoid all the groupthink and the black and white thinking. Try to think critically. For example, ask yourself, what does this 20-year-old know about exactly what I should and shouldn't do on the first date? What does this person that I don't know the background of know about only sleeping 3 hours? What does this 50-year-old white man know about what all women want? You might ask yourself those questions when you go on social media, and don't just don't just absorb everything. That may sound very logic, but it's not for so many people. They just repeat each other like robots. So try to avoid that. Yeah, I think that was all I had about number 3. And just remember that some things on social media are constructed. Those 30-second videos, they are constructed to emotionally engage you. It's either fear or, not all of them, of course, but they all are somehow constructed to engage you emotionally. It may be in a good or a bad way, either if it's fear, insecurities, it can even be joy or happiness, but just that you know that you are mindful of that. So it doesn't have to be negative, of course. I There's a lot of videos I really just enjoy watching, and but just be mindful of how it emotionally engages you, so you don't feel a sense of fear and then you don't know why, and then that lingers in your mind and becomes something big and you don't even know where it came from, and all it came from was like a stupid dating advice TikTok. So number 4 is turn off your activity status on all your socials. This has been really helpful to me. When I was reflecting and kind of analyzing this, so I could productively integrate social media into my life and still keep my focus, but also be able to keep social media in my life if you value that. I would say just turn off your activity status. Something that was the source of my anxiety was that I hated feeling monitored. I hated that people could see when I was online. That made me uneasy, because then if I was online, I was scared that they would be offended if I didn't answer them, but I might have gone online to answer someone that I was meeting at that point. And there were occasions when people get offended if you are online and don't answer them, even if they don't even know what you might be doing at the time. And for you too, if you do feel like this could be a stressor for you with social media, this could definitely lower your social media stress and still let you integrate social media to your life, and not having to completely cut off social media out of your life. This could be a way to deal with that aspect of always feeling monitored. And some people are going to complain about it. Just don't mind it. Just respectfully turn it down, because it is your choice. I don't have my activity status on everywhere, no Snap Map, no Instagram, no nothing, because that is the way I feel more freer that way. I don't feel monitored. I'm not scared that I'm offending people if I just want to go online, but I'm not in the mind space to answer, or I'm not in the mind space to, answer that DM right now, or I'm doing something very specific. I have to contact someone, someone that it can't wait, or anything like that. So this is something that could help and has definitely helped me, and is uh, one of my 5 tips, one of the kind of conclusions I reached in these past months and year, when I tried to kind of integrate social media slowly back into my life in a way that works for me, as someone who highly values productivity and, as I told earlier, gets very anxious by social media and experiences the negative effects in full. Yeah. And I know it sounds obvious, but this is my tip. Number 5, last but not least. This one is more of a mindset thing. Accept that you can't have the cake and eat it too. Integrating social media back into my life, I had to understand that it doesn't work for me to have social media in my life to the degree where I can stay updated with everything. I feel like now I have a balance where I connect with people, with my friends. I still enjoy social media, like the way I discovered my editor, who is actually a friend from high school, where he was posting his work, or I go there for some style inspiration or whatever. But I can't have social media in my life to the degree where I stay updated on everything. And that's what I mean with you can't have the cake and eat it too. If you are gonna monitor your stay on social media very much, you're still gonna be a little bit on the outside or alienated from time to time still. And I think for me, that is okay. I don't know, you have to know that for yourself. How much do you want to stay updated? How important is that for you to be up on all the latest memes and jokes and things that are viral? Sometimes I'm not up to things. And it has kind of become a quirk with me. Like when I haven't seen a meme that every single person in the whole world like have seen, including my parents, then my friends find it, very funny to show me. It's like showing someone who lives under a stone. So it is still just, for me, it just has become a quirk. Like people know I'm not usually up to date to everything. They just know. And that has to be, that has to be something you kind of have to accept too. You value productivity, you value your focus, and maybe you are anxious, maybe these are all reasons you want to stay off social media, but at the same time you want to be completely up to date with everything, and constantly kind of socialize and constantly engage in social media. I don't think, maybe you can have both, but if you, as I said, have all this other stuff, that may be very hard. That's where this mindset comes in, where you're just like, I don't mind not knowing everything that's going on social media. I don't mind not like having cred on social media in the way where I have a lot of followers on my Instagram, or where I need 100 people on Snapchat or wherever. Just know where you are. Do a little soul searching, do some journaling, and find that answer for you. I probably missed a lot of things, but I feel like these are the most important ones for me. I hope this can be helpful for you if you are someone who thought that you completely have to cut off social media of your life because it had so many negative effects in your life. I feel you. I've been there. I am there, but I'm still trying to find my way, and I hope this can be helpful. If you have anything to add, please do in the comments. That's where the discussion is. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video or the next stream. Bye guys. Oh, don't forget to like and subscribe.